Hi, welcome to another episode of In My Opinion. My name is John.
My name is Lester. And today,
Yes, and we're back.
We are back. We're also streaming on Twitch right now. I just frantically turned off the alert box and chat box because I completely forgot to do so. We are streaming on Twitch pretty much every Thursday. So if you want to join us at twitch.tv/overthinksg. Join our Telegram channel at t.me/overthinksg. Follow us on imo.pod and subscribe to this channel if you haven't yet. Thank you so much for the support on the last few videos. It's been doing quite well. Thank you guys so much and we really appreciate it. Is that all we need to plug, John?
Follow us on Instagram, follow and join our Telegram channel and chat.
Yes, please
do. Why we're on Twitch is also because we are striving for affiliate. So more things to look forward to is me smashing buttons on Pokemon Unite.
Yes, and me
I don't know
failing.
why I needed to add that, but yeah.
And me failing to do so, and John scolding me. So if you guys think that that's a fun time, come and join us on Twitch. But today, I know what you guys are here for. You guys are here for the podcast. And today's topic is a little bit of a doozy. It's a little bit of a tough topic to handle. Partially because it's kind of related to the media industry and we're kind of intertwined within the media industry itself. So we have quite a bit of opinions on this. We're going to talk about whether satire belongs in mainstream media. And that might seem like it's like coming kind of like out of the woodworks. Like there's no reason why we are doing this, but rest assured we do have a reason why. It's because recently there has been an Instagram post, or rather like a Straits Times article that was a satirical piece. And there's been getting quite a bit of hoo-ha because of the content of it. So, for the people who don't know what satire is, John, do you want to give a quick lowdown on what it is?
Okay. So I googled.
Yes, Google will always give us answer.
Meaning. Right. Google says that satire is the use of humor, irony, exaggeration, or ridicule to expose and criticize people's stupidity or vices, particularly in the context of contemporary politics or other topical issues.
Yes. But in layman terms, I think it's like we were discussing that it's like probably kind of sarcasm, but it's not, even though it doesn't completely encapsulate it, it's somewhat sarcasm. It's like basically so outrageous and exaggerated or ironic that it cannot be actual opinions or actual news. So people treat it as a joke. And they know that it means the opposite.
It's to make fun.
Yeah. It's to make fun.
It's to make fun of a topic that is serious.
Yes. So if you go to The Onion, if you just search The Onion, I'll link it down below. It's basically a satirical news site. Basically, all the news there is pretty much all fake. And it's just poking fun at news or things that are happening in real life. And through that, it's also its own commentary, but we won't go into that too much today. But we are going to talk a little bit about the Straits Times satirical piece that came out. It's basically by this writer, John Lui. And the title is, on behalf of men in Singapore, I want to say sorry. I speak especially for the KTV bros who have
That's
proven...
Not the title.
Okay, or rather the TLDR, like a summary, I guess. Is that... There's no title. There's like this huge ass font in the front. The title is
called Have You Done KTV Bros?
Okay, fine. There's a huge font with the summary. Okay. I just gotta give the TLDR because there's no way in hell I'm reading the whole goddamn thing. So, on behalf of men in Singapore, I want to say sorry. I speak especially for the KTV bros who have been proven to be the greatest threat to family values and public health in Singapore. So, that's I guess the starting or like the hook, I guess, if you want to call it the hook. And it's basically a satirical piece about coming from the point of view of a KTV bro who is sorry but not sorry at the same time. And basically, he doesn't mean what he's saying. He's basically just trying to poke fun of the situation. And we will be linking an Instagram post that covers this down below. And if I can find it on Straits Times, I will link it down below instead as well. And you guys can read it for yourself. There is quite a it's not a long article, but I won't be able to read it on the podcast today. So just right off the top of the heads, what do you think of the article, John?
Well, I think it's hilarious, man.
Which I think is the unpopular opinion, actually.
Okay.
Yes.
Okay, true. I don't want to disagree with that because I feel that like I find it hilarious, and as much as I would like to defend my view as being the mainstream way of thinking about this article, right? Yeah. I have to admit the reason why we are talking about this on our podcast is that it's because it's not.
Because they done goofed.
Because it feels like a lot of people think they goofed so bad.
Yeah. I think just for the first reactions, I think when I first read it, right, I straight up did not register with satire. And I think that's the problem. And that's something that I'll go into later on. But I think the core issue we want to tackle here, other than like trying to point or like pick holes or like point out the problems in this article, because there's no point in doing so. I think you're trying to argue the bigger topic at hand, which is do you think satire has a place in mainstream media? And if yes, how can it be done better? What are some of the perimeters that one has to work within for satire? That's, I think, a bigger topic that we can look into. So, for you think, before we did this, you wrote a pre-episode talks, which is on Twitch. You can check it on Twitch. And basically, he said that you believe that satire does have a place in mainstream media.
Absolutely.
Okay.
I think for me personally, I feel that like any sort of newspaper, I mean, I don't want to say newspaper, but for any particular content site, a content house, for the lack of a better term, content
thing,
origin, right?
The best thing I will think.
Satire or any, for that matter, any kind of content, right?
Yeah,
has its place.
Okay,
any style of content has its place in any content origin. And some more, right? In the capitalist world that we live in, even national newspapers require the most valuable currency on the internet, and that's attention. And one of those things that we cannot deny, which actually we spoke about during our pre-episode talks also, is that because attention is a currency, then one of the best ways to earn that currency is humor. And hence, satire definitely has a place, because satire is a form of humor.
Okay, so
it's an outlet for humor. Yeah,
that's our TLDR why it should be long. I'm not gonna lie. My default answer is I would say no, not because I don't think satire is a legit form of humor. Neither do I think satire is not neither do I think it's not a good content piece or a good form of art or whatever. I do believe it is. And I do think that it's a very important role. It plays a very important role in humor. I just don't see how we can marry traditional media expectations from the public with satire. And I think... I think the root of the problem for this thing, which I think you don't really agree with, I believe the root of the problem is that it existed on a platform where people do not naturally think will have this kind of thing. Even though they do, they do not naturally have that instinct to go into that mode. And I think that's the problem for me. Yeah.
I agree. But you see, this is where it becomes, it throws a new question up into the air. Because let's face it, okay, for the longest time, okay, and I think the loyal viewers and loyal readers of the Straits Times can attest to this, satire, opinion pieces that are a little bit less popular, all that kind of thing, have existed on the Straits Times digital sphere for the longest time.
Yes.
In fact, I wouldn't even be surprised during the times of print media, it already existed.
It probably did. I mean, satire is not it's not a revolutionary.
It's not a new concept, right?
Yeah,
it's not a new concept.
Thing. Yeah.
Honestly, ever since we study social studies and history, where they talk about propaganda and political cartoons, there's a satire already in its earlier forms. Those already exist.
Yeah.
But like what I was saying earlier in the why are two assholes on the internet doing a podcast about it? Right?
Yeah.
The reason is not because of satire being in mainstream media.
Okay.
The reason is because this satire piece was untimely and hence seen as distasteful.
So you feel like the problem with it is not the content style, but rather the way that it was brought across and the topic they chose to do it.
Correct. And the thing about it is that, it's like, I give you an example.
Yeah.
There are such things as, we don't even need to go to satire to know this. There are such things as good jokes.
Yes. And
there are such things as good jokes at a bad time.
Yes, I agree. Yes. It's like too soon. It's like
imagine you go to someone's funeral and be like, wow, dates, yeah. See, I say now hilarious as shit, right? But can you imagine if I actually did that at a funeral?
Terrible idea. Absolutely terrible idea.
Right? And comedian Jim Jeffries actually mentioned this very, very important point about why context is important. Why context and timeliness and all that kind of thing is important. He talked about how people will come to his shows and they have a good laugh and people don't take it too seriously. But then there'll be some crazy bitches or crazy people out there who will read the transcript and then try to flame him for it. And then he was saying about how, like, when you come to my joke, my comedy shows, you get it. It's a joke. It's hilarious. But when you read my material, it's not a good read.
Yeah. So in that case, right, outside of the comedy club, let's say you draw the comparison. So for satire, outside of a satirical news site where people know to expect that, is there still a place? So like
absolutely, because it is not.
You get what I mean, right?
Because it is not the same.
Okay. In what way?
So, like, I give you an example. Yeah. The reason why, the Jim Jeffries example feels like a counterintuitive point for me, right?
Yes.
It makes no sense that I'm bringing up the Jim Jeffries point, but I think it's very hyper relevant here. Jim Jeffries on his platform does a very simple thing. He does comedy.
Yes.
So people expect satire. They don't expect anything serious.
Yes.
Right?
Yes.
But you see, the fact that he brought up that his content is a bad read, it's a very serious point. He's trying to sell people not to take his jokes seriously, which ironically is a very serious thing to say. Now, if we flip the equation back to the Straits Times, right? We talk about mainstream media.
Yeah.
Mainstream media, right? What is the purpose of it? It has to deliver a certain message, and it also has to stay relevant.
Yes. Yeah.
And like I said, one of the most important currencies for any kind of media is attention. So like every day reading the news, right?
Yeah.
It will accommodate to an audience that may not be wide enough to maintain national viewership.
Okay. So you think
that's why satire has always existed.
As a way to like bring in more people as well.
Absolutely.
Okay.
And like because it has always existed, it feels like it's also a lower barrier of entry to their main type of content, which is their news. Right?
Okay, that's fair. I think Denzel also Denzel is within our Twitch chat. Thank you so much for everyone who has joined us on Twitch.
I have to shout out someone before we go into this, which is Tovakin. Thank you so much, Tovakin, for joining us.
Hi.
Yesterday we played some Pokemon Unite. You can go to our Twitch and check out. But yes,
so basically Denzel said something that I kind of agree, and I think that's another big problem I was going to bring up with the traditional media thing. I think the worst place that you can put, especially a satirical piece on traditional media, is written word. I think it's because, as what Denzel said, I think the difficulty with jokes of satire on text form is that it's difficult to communicate emotions. It's up to the reader to interpret. It's like when you text your girlfriend versus when you call your girlfriend. I think that makes sense. And I think that's another reason why this problem was compounded to the point of no return, basically. And why this article completely got blown out of proportion was because it was on a platform that people supposed to be like treating seriously, but so their mindsets weren't exactly aligned. And at the same time, it was on text. So it took a little bit harder for people to like get it immediately.
Yeah.
And even I took a while to get it. And I'm the one that actually likes satire. I took a while to get it, and it was like, I think I only got it towards the end. And when they gave the disclaimer, then I was like, oh yeah, why did I think this is a legit opinion? It cannot be a legit opinion. But the fact that it took me this long, right, means that I'm pretty sure I'm not the only one, and I'm not alone. And the worst part that I keep coming back to is that it's not the fault of John Lui, neither is it fault of the Straits Times, because satire is it's a legitimate form of comedy, it's a legitimate form of art that they decided to express in that way. It's just that then the only thing that I keep going back to is that there's the problem with the platform or the way or the platform that it's on. And that's why I keep saying that maybe satire doesn't really belong on mainstream media.
And that is where I disagree with you, because everything you said was very valid. In fact, what Denzel mentioned was very valid, right? The fact that it's difficult to communicate the satire in text form. I totally agree, because it's very difficult to read tone in text.
Yes.
Right? Which is exactly what Jim Jeffries was talking about.
Yes, exactly. Yeah.
Right? And I think this is a very, very important, because it is one of those factors that tip the scale against the Straits Times, against John Lui. Right? Tovakin was like, John Lui, yes, we're talking about that article. So the thing about it is that, like, I still feel there's a place for satire. It's just that, like, how there are good jokes and bad jokes, this one was done badly. That does not mean that there isn't a place for satire. Right? Okay. The whole reason why we're even talking about this is because of the bad joke, not because satire doesn't have a place.
That's fair. I can understand why lah. And I think I actually went to poll the Overthink channel. But before that, John, I think you need to move a little bit towards your shelf because you are very close to the corner. But as he does that, I'm just going to read out the news of Overthink channel. Basically, he says, I asked them, like, do you think satire has a place in mainstream media? 23% of people said yes. Actually, only 8% said no, which I was a little bit shocked by. But
Exactly.
an overwhelming majority, which is, I think, 69% said it depends on how well it's done. So, I think that is where you are getting at as well.
Exactly.
You are arguing that it's not the fact that it's on the wrong medium. You're arguing the fact that it's not done well, full stop.
Yes, and that is the entire reason, right? People are making so much noise about it. I give you, let me tell you, okay? People like to vilify anything that is related to, that has connections to public service. So the Straits Times, being a nationally backed newspaper, always comes under fire because they always believe, oh, it's a government want to say. So they are very quick to vilify this. I think up there on the list where people like to vilify is influencers and government things. These are the top two that people on the internet like to vilify because I don't know why they're public enemy number one. Okay, fine, that's fine. But the thing about it is that, you see, attention is drawn to it, right? Because of a distasteful joke.
Yes.
Right?
Yes.
So attention is drawn to it because it's a distasteful joke. And like suddenly, right, this distasteful joke becomes the defining characteristic of the Straits Times.
Okay.
When it's clearly not the case.
Okay.
You get what I mean?
I understand what you mean.
And this is the crux of the issue here, right? It becomes, the issue with the internet is that it becomes an echo chamber so damn quick.
It does lah.
To the point whereby everything is no longer a Straits Times. It's, what is this John Louis doing on the Straits Times? Why are they saying this? Why are national carriers saying this? And then suddenly it becomes Straits Times is fucked up.
Yeah, I think, I mean, going more into like what we can do better from here on out, because assuming that it has a place in medium, and the fact that this did not work out well at all, it does not pan out well, and we definitely do not stand for, we do not agree with what was said, or rather of the way it was done technically, or the way it was done. The fact that this exists as a controversy means that there has to be, the satire that exists on mainstream media has to be better and work off that, and have to improve from this lesson.
I think not just that. That one is too general a way of dealing with this. The next way of doing it, right, is that, like, I think for a Straits Times piece of article, they need to understand two main things which I think they are a little bit out of touch with. That's why they publish this. First is, what are the critical pain points amongst the community?
Yes.
Okay. And the second thing is, right, what is the readership's, for the lack of a better word, understanding level of these pain points?
Okay. So you don't think...
Okay. So I give you an example of what things will be a terrible joke to talk about now. Can you imagine if someone wrote a satire article about the whole RV incident?
Terrible idea. Don't do that.
No bueno, right?
No bueno.
No bueno.
No bueno.
But if, let's say, suddenly we revert back, right? Then they wrote a satirical article about, say...
You're trying to think of a good topic to think of.
I'm trying to think of a good topic. It could be something funny, like, for example, the taxi driver, the girl behind, say, is it because I'm Chinese? That one. They wrote a satirical article about that. That one, yes, bueno, more than RV.
More than right? RV, yes. Depends on how it's done also.
So this is where I feel is the crux of the issue here. You see, people can be as offensive as they want, okay, if they are in touch with their audience. I give you a good example. My favorite comedian does this all the time, and he shits on all the people, and he does the worst jokes, which at the same time makes me nervous, and I hope that he doesn't get cancer or whatever. And that's Ricky Gervais.
Yeah, okay.
Ricky Gervais, right, will straight up be racist and sexist and just attack people, right? But it's never ever taken out of context. Not because he's a bigot, but because the context, and he understands his audience, and his context is always in the correct place.
Which is the problem.
So that's when hyper offensive things, right, can be taken with the right amount of salt. Think about it. It's not about whether you are offensive or not. You know, it's whether you're offensive in the right way.
Which is
that
why
people will forgive you.
Yeah, which is why I don't think that Straits Times has the luxuries because, like, for example, like a comedic person, like a comedian like him, the community understands that this is style, this is the context in which is being said. But for Straits Times, where it's supposed to be for the mass media, for the mass people, they don't have the luxury of their context for the most part.
That is also not true.
Okay.
I give you an example. Let's talk about the flip side that is not comedy. Okay, let's talk about hard facts. Okay,
Yes.
hard facts. Right. So you expect that a national news, a national carrier, like a news carrier, like the Straits Times, you expect that we have this gleaming image of how they should be. They should only deliver facts. They should only deliver things that people deserve to know. Right. That is not necessarily the case. Also.
Yes.
What is newsworthy may not always be facts.
What?
Not saying that it's fake. Right?
That's confusing as hell.
What I'm saying is that it has to be interesting. It doesn't have to be factual. Think about it, okay? We talk about COVID-19. Let's say we talk about COVID-19 throughout the 2 years that the pandemic has been ongoing.
Yeah.
What about all the other scientific discoveries? What about all the other developments in human education? What about all the other developments in terms of renewable energy and all that kind of thing? These are facts,
Yes.
but they're not interesting.
No, but the basis of
Shouldn't
everything
then,
is facts, what? Right?
Yeah, but shouldn't then the national carrier be talking about all these facts too? All these serious facts?
I think they do sometimes, maybe. I don't know. As in, there's still interesting facts.
That's the thing, you see.
It has to be interesting facts, but they have to be facts. What?
No. Correct.
Yeah.
It exists too alongside with all the other satire articles, and these two things fly under the radar.
Okay. I get what I mean.
So this is where it becomes contentious, okay? Because when a good piece of satire and a good piece of scientific fact are both published on the Straits Times, hit the right audience, they both get appreciated, and in the mass public, they fly under the radar.
So
Are you visualizing
I
it
get
now?
what I mean. Yes.
So right now, right, if let's say a piece of news comes out, scientific fact, they discover aliens and aliens disprove most mainstream religions, that one will blow up like shit. Because mainstream people cannot accept.
Okay.
And then it will become another two assholes on the internet talk on a podcast about it again. Because it is done in a way that people cannot immediately accept. So this is the downfall of John Lewis's article. It was done in a way that people cannot accept. Can you imagine if they did this KTV thing, right?
Yeah.
After 90% of the population is vaccinated and everyone move into the more less lockdown phase. Wow, hilarious. I bet you. I will bet my bottom dollar on that.
I don't know, man.
I bet you.
Okay, but
I'll give you another example.
yeah.
Okay. Which is why I mean, this is a risky example because I don't know for sure, but this is what I believe in. If we talk about the really serious RV case, right?
Yeah.
Singaporeans have a terrible stomach for jokes involving that kind of subject matter.
Not just Singaporeans, I think
so.
humans.
No, and rightly so. And
rightly so. Yeah.
And rightly so.
Yeah.
But can you imagine, let's say 2 years down the road, someone on the Ricky Gervais level who is a journalist writes an Onion or Rice Media article about that in a satire form.
Ooh, I don't know, man.
I will bet you,
I
people
don't
get
know,
offended,
man.
but less than people right now.
I don't know, man.
No, think about it. Think about this carefully.
Maybe I cannot imagine. I cannot imagine.
I mean, this is of course all speculation here, but I'm gonna say that they will be offended, but they'll be less offended than if the article was produced this week.
Of course, yeah. I mean, of course.
Exactly,
I think that
is
goes
my
without.
point here. And that is my point here. Timeliness and context and in terms of delivery is very important. And what you mentioned a bit earlier about how the Straits Times is not a comedic space, it becomes doubly important.
Yes, I agree. I think
And
that one I
that's
agree.
where they missed the point.
Yeah, and I want to mention a few things that the chat has been saying. Denzel said the disclaimer should have been placed at the start so the reader expectations matches the article. Sure, I think that's one way to solve it. And I think maybe the author might be like, no, the point of satire or joke is that you're not supposed to explain the joke. If not, the joke is not funny, etc. But I do think that for the case of Straits Times, where their normal content or content that most people know them for is not this sort, I think it's a good precaution to have. But
And that's why they already do it sometimes, for their opinion pieces, it's always commentary, then their title.
Yeah.
People get that.
People understand.
And that's
It
where
sets
they
the
could have
context,
totally prevented. Prevention should have been better than cure. They could have totally done that. This is a work of satire, but they never.
I think even if you do that, right, the article will still not fly. I think because of what Tovakin said. He said the good thing of a good satire is that it's A, it needs to be funny. It shouldn't be demeaning. And B, it should not be demeaning to any particular group, both of which the article was not. And I think that's, the bigger issue. I think the context thing should be new. If it's not already a thing, I think it should start being a thing. But
Actually, interesting. I do not necessarily agree with the second part.
That should not be demeaning.
Yeah.
Ooh. I think
This is where I feel it's a bit contentious because you see, think about it.
Yeah.
People poke fun at a whole bunch of things.
yes.
Right? One such group, right, that is always being demeaned, so much so that meme pages have been born out of it, right, is NSFs.
That's true.
Works of NSF satire, right, exist everywhere. Make fun of how they dress when they go clubbing, make fun of their behavior, make fun of people, girlfriends breaking up with them when they're in NS, you know? So
okay.
that's where it gets contentious. But why is it okay? Why is it okay?
Because
it feels like an evergreen joke, right?
yeah.
Right? It feels like an evergreen joke. But the thing about it is that when the wound is fresh and you don't tread carefully, people will only feel the pain without understanding the humor. So things like the KTV lockdown, right? Very fresh. So I think what happened was that probably the editors were like, oh my god, this is so relevant. Let's do it. Without
Yes.
considering that how big of a pain point it is.
Yes, I agree. I think this is why I feel, right, that the reason why I said it does not really belong on mainstream media is not really because I don't think there's not necessarily because I think there's no place for it, but more of the consequences of it going wrong and the fact that there is a very, very big chance of it going wrong is way too high for it to live on a platform like this. So
are you saying that if the risk is high, we shouldn't take it?
No, I'm not saying the
Because-
risk is high. The risk is
Right.
high plus the chance of it going wrong is also quite high. You get what I mean?
But that doesn't mean you shouldn't take it, you see? Think about it, right? That is counterintuitive to the progress of a newspaper. People
That's
have
true.
been accusing SPH for not taking risks.
That's true.
People have been accusing SPH for not trying to appeal to the digital landscape. People have been laughing at the fact that SPH had to be listed and try to list it as
true.
I don't know, like the whole umbrage
the
thing,
average
right?
CEO thing. Yeah.
Exactly. So you see, this is where I feel that the two key things about a newspaper has to be very careful in what they do. That is important, right? Knowing what your audience pain points are and knowing how they can treat the pain point.
Okay, yeah, I think I agree. It's just I don't know, man. Maybe because I'm not a writer. Maybe I'm not someone
Right.
who can visualize it.
No, but okay, Alistair, how about
can't
we put it in a
imagine
way that we can both understand? We can both
Yeah.
understand this. If it's a video piece instead,
Yeah.
isn't it the same?
I don't know whether I will be damn stoked. I don't know if I will be stoked if suddenly the Straits Times starts doing SGAG-like videos. I don't.
No,
I don't
As
know.
a viewer, there will be people who will tune out from that. Absolutely, right?
Yeah,
Because they'll
yeah.
feel like, oh, it's not to the branding or whatever. But this is not who this piece of content is for.
So who's this piece for content for?
For someone who wishes to experience the Straits Times with either a more comedic view, or someone who wishes to enter this ecosystem with something with a lower barrier of entry. And like the objective of the Straits Times is very simple. Right? Objectives of any content origin is very simple. Right? To get the greatest currency, which is attention.
Yes, I agree.
So if let's say I won't be surprised if someday the SPH decides to make videos, and
In
then
a comedy.
after that, the videos start to get funny and serious, and then it's diversified.
I don't know whether I'll be stoked there, honestly speaking. I'm imagining it now. If suddenly the Straits Times come out with a video like when your girlfriend angry at you, right? I don't know how I feel about that. I really don't think that was a good idea.
I don't think it's a good idea, but I think, right, it will be viral as heck.
For the wrong reasons. Right?
If it's viral, is there a right or wrong reason? Think about it.
This
This is where you have to think about it. I feel that for a newspaper or for a content origin, right? Viral, right or wrong reason, right? It doesn't matter one.
I think it matters. Maybe because I'm idealistic.
It doesn't.
Yeah.
It doesn't. Now if we draw back to the John Louis incident, right?
Yeah.
Okay. This is where you can. I will only say this is where the wrong reason becomes problematic. Because it is wrong for an out of touch reason.
Would you say the satire that John Lee was posted was in that category?
It's out of touch. Yes.
Okay.
Because it was way too meta for the majority of the audience. So what happens is, right, they just need one person, right, to get offended, and send it into the echo chamber.
Yes, and
think about it, because that's how it happened. You see, the whole reason is that people are jumping on this one article, making it seem like the entire Straits Times is based on the backbone is this article.
It's not like it's
and then it's blowing up, right? Echo chamber. Everyone's like, oh my god, Straits Times, is it so distasteful? Why are you like this? Straits Times. What about all the other satire that they've done? Unpopular that I'm saying this, but think about it.
I agree.
Think about it. What I'm saying here is that the issue is you trigger the pinpoint wrongly.
I agree. And I hope that that's not the takeaway that you guys get from this, that we feel like the Straits Times is just like screwing up, whatever. I think as John said, they've been doing satire for a while. I think that's fine.
Yeah.
And the fact that we don't, like some of us don't even know they do satire about it means it's probably a good thing. It means most people got the point that satire is not blown up out of proportion like this one. I just think that just because there's this one article, it proves that it can go very wrong very quick. And maybe it's just the anti-conflict person in me speaking. But if I were the one in charge of the Straits Times, I'll be like, let's just like stop for a little bit, and let's just rethink it a little bit.
And this is the whole Umbridge thing.
Yeah.
Because there are higher ups that think like you.
Yeah.
And then the Straits Times is stuck in an in-between like this.
That's why I'm not in charge of Straits Times.
No, but this is key, you see? This is key. And I think, one of our commenters on Twitch just mentioned, satire acceptance will continue to diminish in today's generation as people grow more sensitive and increasingly vocal about what offends them. That's why stand-up comedians nowadays are less popular or accepted. You see, this is where towing that line is very important, and that's where satire exists, don't you think?
Is that towing the line? Yeah, I agree. Yeah.
Especially if it's satire done in a way that makes fun of something. Most of the time, that's the case, right?
Is there,
like for example, what's a piece of satire that we do in every single moment of our day, right? We like to make fun of people with common names.
Yeah, that's true.
Right? We probably be like, hey, that Chinese 小妹妹 confirm is a 单家慧 or 单心怡, something like that, right?
Yeah, sure.
Isn't that satire?
Yeah.
But why is that okay? Why is that okay? This is where it's key. See, we have to understand why something is okay, why isn't.
Yes, I agree. Okay.
And that's where they failed.
Yeah. Yeah.
They were out of touch of what was okay and what wasn't. If they held off this piece until September when we eased the restrictions, funny, yeah. Funny.
I cannot imagine it. I don't think it'll be as offensive. That one I confirm agree. I don't know whether people will be cool with it. They might not be cool.
I think it wouldn't have offended enough people to reach the echo chamber.
Fair. Maybe. I agree.
Right? It will have been another forgotten satirical piece that goes into their archive.
Yeah, that's true. And I think Daryl Tan actually mentioned quite a good point. I think the news did a good job of towing the line between what's acceptable and what's not. And that's something we discussed also. We were saying that like the news is a satirical like show, and everyone loved it. And I think because they played it on the safer side, or if they told the line, they told it very well. They did it very tastefully, and I think that's what makes it a good satirical piece.
Yes,
I think
but
maybe
also, you see,
my mind.
Black Blades mentioned something about safe satire. I just want to put it out there that I feel that the news is safe satire.
Fair.
And safe satire, unfortunately, I'm going to have to put it out there, will run out of steam.
Okay. I mean,
So I give you an example. For example, the news. We talk about the news, right? Everyone enjoyed it. It's so funny. It's a good laugh. It's rare that you see Singaporean productions there to do this kind of thing, right? Michelle Chong also does this, right? Is it Michelle Chong, right? Also does satire all the damn time, right? But it runs out of steam very quickly, right? It doesn't catch your attention anymore.
okay.
That's where it
such
becomes
a tough
difficult.
conundrum.
Yeah, that's where it becomes difficult. You see, so satire has to be relevant too, in that sense.
Oh, wow, that's tough. Which is why I just straight up don't think that they should try to like innovate in a different segment, maybe not with satire, because then again, as I say once again, and I will say it once again, that's the reason why I'm not in charge of Straits Times. But if I were in charge of Straits Times, I would have just like shut it down. And I think it's just because there is way too much risk to this. I'm going to preface this that I'm not the owner of Straits Times, and that's the reason why. It's just, as a layman, non-writer looking in, I don't see how they can reap the full benefits of satire while not offending enough people, especially on a mass platform. Which is why I don't think it deserves it. Which is why I don't think there's really a place for it.
Actually, I just wanted to highlight another comment that was left by Black Blitz on our Twitch chat, right? He mentioned about how I think it's because satire is not widely accepted in Asian/Singapore culture. Take British comedy, for example, very heavily dug in satire. Now, this is a very key point.
Yes.
Asians/Singaporeans, we are very proud people.
Okay. What do you mean?
Seldom can we take it, right, when we are the butt of the joke.
Okay, yeah, fair. Yeah, that's fair.
Or seldom can we take it, right, when the butt of the joke affects us directly. Can you imagine? I'll give you another example now. Head canon. Someone wrote a satirical piece, right, about why CPF is the best thing to have happened to Singapore.
Oh,
How much would I bet people offended?
that's true lah.
I bet my left testicle, the boomer Facebook, WhatsApp, will blow up like crazy because they're like, whoa. And this is where it's important, you see?
Yes.
It becomes out of touch. When actually someone really will be like, holy shit, that's hilarious as shit. But
I think it's the out of touch
what's
thing,
important here, you see? Yeah. Out of touch, not in the generation gap sense, which is usually the case on the internet. But this is a unique one because it's not out of touch in the generation gap sense. It's out of touch with the pinpoint.
Okay, yeah, I get what I mean. And I think that's a little bit more, as much as we like to give concrete solutions, the problem of like maybe the satirical piece not being very in touch with the sentiments on the ground, or like maybe the pain points on the ground, it's not something that can be solved like concretely, other than they just need to be more in touch, and the editors just need to practice more caution, and
Absolutely.
the writers just need to be more careful with this shit.
Yeah.
Other than that, there's really nothing much you can do.
There's so many other topics that they could have explored, but you see, this is where towing the line between relevance and Pena is very important for satire.
That's true.
Like, you think about it, right? I give you an example of a very relevant piece of news article that, if done satirically, right, I'm pretty sure will go viral. If they make fun of that NS commander who was scolding people with a mask down.
Oh, that might actually...
even more recent than the KTV, man.
Maybe. I don't know, man.
Right?
Yeah, maybe. I can see it.
But what happens? You see, this is something that people will laugh at. Some people may take offense, but offense with a pinch of salt. Unlike the KTV one, because it caused a lot of society-wide issues.
Yes.
To the point where people are still recovering from these issues.
Yes.
So that is the definition of the internet. People like to say too soon.
It's too soon, way too soon, man. And I think it's just, I mean, as we're winding down to the end of the episode, I think that's where we start thinking like, how can we move forward with this? I do think that the hate kind of, I hope John Louis isn't taking them too much like hate or anything. I do think it needs to stop. I do think that no matter, I think it was just poorly done, but I don't think him as a person or his character should be under fire or anything. It's just, I think he just was a bit, maybe didn't really know the public sentiment as well. And he did something that wasn't very sensitive. And, sometimes it happens to everyone that sometimes you just say something, we can't read the room that well. That's just how it is.
It's true.
It just happens to everyone.
At the same time, I just want to put it out there that John Louis, if you happen to be watching, I thought the article was hilarious. And you see, this is where even between two people, right, opinions can be divided as such. And this is where it's very important for the Straits Times, if you happen to be watching, after I address John Louis, now I address Straits Times, if you happen to be watching, you need to understand that there are more people that think like the other guy than me.
Yes.
And that's where it becomes important to understand how to be in touch with what people feel. Because if more people think like the other guy than me, then that article is a little bit less bueno than you think it would be. But if more people think like me than the other guy, then the article is a bit more yes bueno.
Yeah, and I think like Denzel pointed out quite well. Like they said that he said that the news played to the lowest common denominator that's acceptable.
Correct.
And I think that's the crux of it, lah. As much as it sounds damn fluffy, because it really is, it's a very fluffy solution, but it really we just need to do better. And like media, not just the Straits Times, but even John and I, because we are in the media, we need to know the context. We need to know, we need to read the room. We need to read the room well. And sometimes things just like cannot say on lah, like don't say. And sometimes it's just not the right time to do so as well. So it really just depends on the context and like the way we do it as well.
And you know, a very good point to end it off and tie it off with a bow is something that Black Blitz mentioned on Twitch. The irony is majority bash on Mediacorp being too safe or boring, but actually majority of our mindsets are actually still stuck at that safety level.
It's true. It's true.
That's why it's true.
I recognized it, like, as I was saying my argument over the podcast, I recognized more and more like because I also one of them that said that like, I think the Straits Times need to like innovate. But at the same time, when they innovate with things like this, I'm like, wait, no. So I'm starting to recognize that maybe like when we say innovate, it's not as easy as you think it is, because as much as this is wrong and I think we can all agree this is like probably not the best way to innovate. It just shows how difficult it is to do so. And how much
it is. And
problems they have to go through and troubleshooting they have to go through to improve to a point where the innovation is good. So I think, Daryl Tan said something that will nicely wrap it up for all of us. To be fair, this boo-boo from the Straits Times will probably be forgotten soon. Hopefully they'll do better next time. And I think they will lah. I think they will do better. And I think they will learn from this lesson. I just hope that next time maybe they can do the disclaimer at the start. That's the most concrete suggestion I can
because
give.
people still need that for now.
I need that. I didn't even get it.
Don't take off the training wheels and expect the bicycle to go 100 km per hour.
I agree. And other than that, just read the room and we'll be, it's also a good lesson for the two of us in the media as well to read the room better and try to understand when to say what.
And at the same time, this is something that we haven't seen in a long time, but for those of you that are watching, whether you're on Twitch, on YouTube, or wherever you are listening on Spotify, we always encourage you to engage with us in the comments in an intellectual manner, because it's fine that you disagree with us. We would like to hear your opinion as well, because this is, after all, just our opinion and how we think about it. I might find it hilarious. I may not, and as a result, I may not be able to see why people are offended. Fine. Share with me. We always come into these conversations ready to have our minds changed.
And if there's if it helps you, I also disagree with John. So, and in fact, for the most part of this podcast, I disagree with him. So we are okay if people disagreeing with us. Just say it nicely in the comments down below, and I hope to hear your comments. And with that, thank you guys so much for watching today's episode of In My Opinion. Stay safe, stay at home, and see you guys next week.
And play Pokemon with us.
Play Pokemon with us. Bye.
Bye.